Welcome to the Kindle Chronicles, the Friday podcast about your Kindle, books, and all things Amazon. I'm Len Edgerly. Today is June 13th, 2018. Welcome from Ocean Park, Maine. I hope your Friday the 13th has been full of good luck so far today. And I hope good fortune this week finds author David Bell, whose 8th thriller was released on Tuesday by Berkeley Publishing Group, an imprint of Penguin Random House. His suspenseful novels are set in what look to be normal families living peaceful lives.
I think there's nothing more terrifying than the realization that someone you thought you knew, whether it's your spouse, your parent, your sibling, someone you thought you knew really well, someone in your family, has been keeping some kind of secret from you.
Also this week, I will update you on what to expect on Prime Day, which begins Monday, July 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We will gaze into the future of Amazon Go stores and Amazon's increasing share of e-commerce. And in the tech tip, I'm going to share my first impressions of the just-released show mode. You have that if you have a Fire HD 8 or HD 10 tablet. And I also received this very clever companion device that you can buy for either of those tablets, the Show Mode dock, and I'll tell you about that. First up in news is Prime Day 2018, just around the corner. I received an email on July 9th from the agency that frequently organizes press briefings for Amazon. It revealed that the Kindle Paperwhite, the best-selling Kindle, is going to go on sale during Prime Day for $80. That's a $40 discount from the usual price, and it's actually the price that they've up to usually sell the basic Kindle for. So this is for the Paperwhite with Wi-Fi only and special offers. Those are the ads which appear on the wake screen. So if you have been thinking about buying a Kindle, this would be a very good price to do it, and you might want to make sure to grab one pretty soon into Prime Day. It begins July 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If they're going to put the Paperwhite on sale, I'm sure they're going to have lots of them, but there's lots of people going to be tuning into Prime Day all over the world, and if you are interested in this deal, you might want to jump on it early. There may also be some discounts on the Kindle Oasis. That's the top-of-the-line Kindle. The Oasis was updated last fall, and the 8GB version with Wi-Fi only and special offers normally sells for $250. This model was discounted today in a lightning deal for $200. It's a $50 savings. They'll probably all be claimed by the time I have this episode on the nets. But I think the fact that the Oasis is being offered in a lightning deal just before Prime Day might indicate that you will see new discounts on the Oasis come July 16th. Amazon's agency, when they told me about the $80 deal on the Paperwhite, said that there would be, quote, a few additional Amazon deals announced later in the week. But when I followed up today asking about new ones, I was told that plans had changed and that they didn't have any additional Amazon device deals to announce. I bet there will be some dramatic ones on Prime Day, perhaps for the Oasis, and even more probably on the Fire HD 8 and HD 10 and Fire TV devices. And did I mention Alexa? No need to. I'm sure she's going to have a lot to talk about on Prime Day, following up the already implemented drop on the price of the Echo Show, which has been selling for $130 instead of $230. In replying to my query about other Amazon device Prime Day offers, the company's agency did alert me to a deal on a cell phone that is enabled with Alexa and lots of Amazon apps. It's the Moto G6 64GB phone. It normally sells for $320, and on Prime Day it will be offered at a $60 discount at $260. This is not the late great Fire phone, but when you read the specs you can see that it does a lot of what Amazon would have been promoting on its own phone if it still had one. The Moto G6 provides a single sign-on experience offering Prime members easy access to their Prime benefits. Prime exclusive phones are unlocked. They give you the freedom to choose your carrier, currently compatible with AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, and they come preloaded with the most popular Amazon apps, including Amazon Widget. I'm not sure what that is. Amazon Shopping and Amazon Alexa. Prime members have easy access to daily deals, Prime movies, TV shows, Prime music, and more with a single sign-on experience. That all sounds pretty cool to me. And if I weren't so locked into the iPhone ecosystem, especially because of my Apple Watch, I would be tempted to try a Prime exclusive phone. At the Prime Day price of $260, this Moto G6 would certainly cost a lot less than the $1,000 I shelled out for my iPhone X. Prime Day 2018 will have something last year's event lacked, and that's a Whole Foods connection. Business Insider this week reported that Amazon will offer up to $30 in discounts to Prime members at Whole Foods between July 11th and July 17th, so longer than the 36 hours of Prime Day. To get this credit, you have to scan the Prime barcode on your Whole Foods or Amazon app at checkout. I was at the Portland, Maine store here the other day, and someone was seeing that she could get deals if she was a Prime member, and she was kind of saying, well, how do I do this? Is there an app? What do I do? And I helped her out to find the app on her iPhone so that she could get her discounts. And I'm always sort of aware when I check out at Whole Foods these days who are the Prime members, who might become a Prime member. It's a point where a lot of people are starting to say, gee, maybe I need to pay this $120, and I bet if I shop enough at Whole Foods, I might save enough money to pay for it pretty quickly. If you haven't tried the grocery delivery service from Whole Foods by Prime Now, you can get $10 off an order when you shop before July 17th, and you get another $10 on a future offer. I won't be able to take advantage of that one since I've already tried the 2-hour delivery from Whole Foods in both Denver and Cambridge. It's pretty amazing. And if you have an Amazon Prime Rewards Visa card and a Prime membership, you will get 10% back. That's good up to $400 on purchases at Whole Foods between July 14th and 17th. That's one I will be able to take advantage of because I always use my Prime Visa card on my Apple Watch when I buy at Whole Foods. It normally gets me a 5% benefit in Amazon gift dollars I can use, so this Prime Day doubles it. With all of the buzz about Prime Day, it's no surprise to find two recent articles projecting significant growth in Amazon's retail business. The stock price has been going crazy lately. It's always fun for me to watch. Lauren Thomas and Courtney Reagan at CNBC today, July 13th, reported that Amazon is expected to account for nearly 50% of the U.S. e-commerce market by the end of this year. That's according to a new survey by eMarketer. That dollar total is expected to reach $258.2 billion this year, up nearly 30% from 2017. Amazon's share of U.S. e-commerce sales in 2017 by this analysis was estimated at 44%. I was surprised that Walmart isn't in second place or even third. It comes in at fourth. The others behind Amazon for share of e-commerce sales in the U.S. are eBay, but that's a distant 6.6%, followed by Apple, 3.9%. Then comes Wally World, 3.7%, Home Depot, and Best Buy. These numbers, I have to say, astonish me. I knew Amazon was a dominant player in e-commerce, but I would have thought Walmart was a lot closer behind, and maybe even Target. So the article confirms something I did know, which is that Amazon's third-party sellers are a huge part of this exploding sales. They are expected to account for 70.7% of Amazon's U.S. retail sales next year, up from 68%. The second bullish article about Amazon that I want to tell you about was published in Forbes on July 6th. It was about Amazon Go, and it was by contributor Chris Walton. He, it turns out, is a former executive of Target who led their Store of the Future initiative. He's also a graduate of Stanford and the Harvard Business School. His Forbes piece speculates on the future of Amazon Go, the cashierless store technology that Amazon is expanding to a second location in Seattle and also San Francisco and Chicago. He envisions Amazon's eventually bringing Go technology to Whole Foods, which I've always thought would be a huge stretch, but he says, if you connect the dots, you can really see it happening. He urges us to watch carefully what Amazon includes in its second Seattle store, which will be roughly 3,000 square feet compared with 1,800 square feet at the original store. The tell is perishables, he writes. If Amazon experiments with perishables within any of its locations in the coming year, cancel Christmas. By that he means there's going to be a big change. I've seen plenty of enthusiastic reviews of Amazon Go, but what I like about Walton's take is how he puts the technology in a historical perspective. He states that retail innovation cycles every 30 to 40 years like clockwork. Jeff Bezos was on the cutting edge of the last great innovation, e-commerce, and he might well pull the feet off again by 2020 or 2030 when the next turn of the retail wheel will come around, if it comes around as expected on the cycle of the past. Walton's description of what this might look like goes beyond cashierless shopping, and I'll confess he sort of loses me in the telling of it. Think of it like a multiplayer video game, he writes. A customer enters a store like the main player, like the main character in the game, and then via his or her voice, physical movement, or interactions with a mobile phone, he or she begins to unlock experiences within a physical space that are 100% unique to him or her. Experiences like the deal fever of online shopping or live streaming can then be unlocked real time within the store. Well, I like it when someone's vision gets so far ahead of me that I have only a vague sense of what they're talking about. Chris Walton has a playful take on retail, and you can follow his wise antics at omnitalk.blog. For the tech tip, I want to tell you about Show Mode, which is available now via a wireless update for the HD8 and HD10 tablets. This is pretty stunning. What has happened is that if you have one of these tablets, you now have all of the capabilities that up until now have been available only in the Echo Show and the Echo Spot, the round one. That's, the Spot. Those are the ones that have a screen, and you can also talk to Alexa, and you can drop in, and I've been using the Echo Show a lot with my parents. It's just been wonderful. They have one in their kitchen and other rooms of the house. Now I can have those same interactions with them just using one of my tablet computers, the 8 or the 10. I don't think this works with the basic Fire 7 tablet. But, these tablets are very affordable. The HD8 in its basic configuration is $80, and the HD10, which is a nice big tablet, is $150, way cheaper than the $230 Echo Show. And if you want to try this, you can just you turn on a button under Settings to set the show mode in place, and then it can operate as an Alexa device that has a video screen. Now, the other thing which came out, which I'm really pretty excited about, is called the Show Mode Dock. And this cost $40 to fit the HD8, the smaller tablet, and $55 for the HD10. I bought one for the HD10. And it's a nice solid dock. It's like a kind of an easel that you rest the tablet into. You first have to attach kind of a case to the tablet, so it means you can't use. I have a nice blue case that I've used for my HD10, so I had to take that off and put this Show Dock tablet in it. Once that case is in it, and I've plugged in the dock, I simply rest the tablet into kind of a magnetic holding place, and it senses with the when you align it right, it senses that you want to put it into Echo Show mode, and then I'm looking at the exact same screen on my tablet as I am looking on the Echo Show. There's some advantages and disadvantages to this that I want to mention. One is the simplicity of the Echo Show. Now, I have one of these in the kitchen of my parents' house, and Dad's 91, Mom is 89. It's just drop dead simple. Once it's set up and I've taught them how to tell Alexa to reach me, they can call me, and then I can drop in on them, and they say, "Hi, how are you?" They don't have to do anything. There's no tablet to set into a dock. There's nothing to do other than just talk to this thing. The other advantage of the Echo Show is that the audio is much better quality than what you have on the HD10, which, is adequate audio for watching things. But generally, if I'm watching something on the tablet, I'll use earbuds or headphones. So those are the two things that it might make it better to have the Echo Show. Now, the drawbacks to the Echo Show, of course, is that's all it can do. You can't, lift it up and operate it like a Fire tablet and watch movies, read books, do all of the things that you can do on a tablet. So with the tablet being used in show mode, there's just a lot more that you can do. I think the tablet might have a better camera. When I dropped in on my folks, I noticed that their image of me looked better than it does on the Echo Show. That's here at the beach, so there could be an advantage to that. I like the dock because I can have it in show mode here, so if I want to drop into my folks, I could. And if I just take it a little bit out of line with those magnetic places where it connects with the tablet, then it looks just like my regular Fire tablet interface, and I can watch a video and do other things, and then I can set it up on the vertical so I can see the show notes that I've written for this episode. And it's a very sweet design. You don't have to plug anything in. You simply rest the tablet into this dock, and it's charging it as well as triggering it into show mode. Some people have speculated this maybe means the end of the Echo Show. I hope not. I think there are times when it's a device that's good, and I like that little round one, the Spot. I have that on my bedside table, and it makes a nice clock, and then if I do want to drop in on somebody, I can, and I can have the other stuff too. So I think those other earlier versions of this are fine, but this is a pretty major technological breakthrough to bring all of that calling and drop-in capability to the tablets. Time now for the interview. David Bell has written 8 novels published by Berkeley Penguin, including his latest, Somebody's Daughter, which was published 2 days ago. In 2013, he won an international prize for the best crime novel by an international author. He has a day job as Associate Professor of English at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, where he directs the university's MFA program in creative writing. I reached him at his home in Bowling Green on July 11th and began by asking him to read an excerpt from his new novel.
This is the very beginning of the book. Michael Frazier is a regular guy. He has a good life. He has a happy marriage. He has a good job. And on a hot summer night, someone has rung his doorbell. And when he opens the door, he sees his ex-wife, who he hasn't seen in 10 years. And she has dropped a little bombshell on Michael, telling him that she has a daughter and that her daughter is now missing, and she needs Michael's help getting her daughter back. Michael naturally says, "Why are you coming to me for help? If your daughter is missing, you should go to the police." And this is what Erica tells him when he asks that question. Erica stared him down. While she did, her eyes filled with tears. She bowed her head, an exaggerated gesture, like she was praying. The movement took him right back to their college days, to times she was upset and times they fought. In both the past and the present, the gesture reached something in Michael, summoning empathy and concern for the person before him. Erica could look so vulnerable at times. She always seemed to feel more deeply than anyone else. It hurt to look at her when she was in pain or distress. And then she glanced up again, the tear-filled eyes meeting his. Her chin quivered. "You have to help me, Michael," she said. "You have no real choice." Her tone had shifted. Gone was the manic edge, the revved-up energy. Erica sounded shaken, scared. She spoke again, her voice just above a whisper. "She's yours, Michael. Felicity is your daughter, and I need your help getting her back."
He doesn't know that he even has a daughter, correct?
Yeah, he had no idea that this child even existed, and in fact, when he decides to go off with Erica, his ex-wife, he's still not sure if the child exists. He's not sure if Erica has just made this whole story up to lure him out of the house for some purpose. And he's been told that the child is in danger, and Erica has even mentioned a suspect who she thinks has harmed the child. But Michael is not really sure if it's possible that Erica harmed the child. You learn later in the book that Erica had been in trouble with Child Protective Services for neglect at one time. So maybe Erica is the one who has harmed the child, and Michael is now going off with someone who was wanted by the police. So lots of complicated things emerge from that one little moment on the front porch.
Now, clearly that moment affects Michael's wife, Angela Fraser. What can you tell us about her and the torment that you put her through in this story?
Well, Angela obviously has the same life as Michael. She has a good job, and they're happy. The big issue that Michael and Angela are dealing with, interestingly enough, is that they're struggling to have a child. They're struggling to conceive a child. And so when Erica shows up at the front door and says, "You already have a child with me," and Michael chooses to leave to help Erica find this child, Angela is left alone in their house, and she has to deal with the possibility that Michael might have been able to have a child with his ex-wife, but cannot have a child with her. And so now she's sitting alone in the house, feeling kind of helpless. What is she supposed to do in this scenario when her husband is left with his ex-wife? And eventually she decides to take matters into her own hands, and she leaves the house too. But initially it's a pretty agonizing decision to have to make.
Yeah, for sure. There are other family members involved. There's backstory from Michael's childhood involving a sister who died in a tragic accident. It seems like in this book, which I read and then reading about your previous novels, each time you take a family that at first looks like it's leading a peaceful existence in a small Ohio town, and then you apply a lot of pressure of things that happen that are really suspenseful, obviously, but also excruciating, taking people right to the limits. Why do you think readers like reading that kind of a story, and what do you hope to sort of provide by way of insights into family connections when you take on a story like this and put the characters through such trial?
I like writing about families because being in a family is a universal experience. We all come from a family, and families take all different varieties. They can be adopted families, surrogate families, work families, whatever. But we all come from a family, and all families have pasts, and all families have secrets. All families have things that they don't like to talk about, things that don't come up at the dinner table, or if they do come up at the dinner table, it causes a lot of consternation for everybody. So that's a universal experience that all readers can relate to and understand. I think there's nothing more terrifying than the realization that someone you thought you knew, whether it's your spouse, your parent, your sibling, someone you thought you knew really well, someone in your family, has been keeping some kind of secret from you. So all sorts of drama comes from that, and every character in this book has a secret of some kind. They have something they're not telling the other characters. So I think that creates a lot of drama. I think when readers read a story like this about ordinary people having something extraordinary happen to them, I think it's kind of like riding a roller coaster. You have the vicarious experience of seeing this happen to other people, but you know you can always just close the book and walk away. And maybe you'll walk away feeling a little more grateful for your own family. I mean, we all complain about our families and say, oh my gosh, my parents, my siblings, my in-laws, whatever, they're such a pain in the butt. They want me to come at Christmas. They want me to do this. But maybe after you read one of these books, you'll say, oh, okay, well, it's not so bad that Mom wants me to come at Thanksgiving and hang out with Aunt Sally or whatever. Maybe that's mild in comparison to what happens in these books.
Yeah, that's right. This isn't a series of books in which we have the same characters, but they're similar in that they do have family settings and the kinds of drama that we've talked about. In the series, did you do anything different as a writer with somebody's daughter? It happens in one night, or any other aspects of it that you were trying out for the first time in this novel?
Yeah, all the books stand alone, so people can pick them up and read them in any way they want. They're different characters every time and different settings every time. But you're right, this one is unique in that everything does happen in one night. It starts, Erica rings the doorbell at about 8:15 one night, and everything is finished by about 8 o'clock the next morning. And I've never done that before, so it's a really tightly compressed time frame as all these people get involved looking for this missing child. And there are 3 point-of-view characters, so the big challenge was, as the story bounces back and forth between the different point-of-view characters, making sure I knew where everybody was at what time so that it made sense that, if this character is driving, from the house to the hospital at the same time that the other character is driving, from the hospital to the police station, that it all makes sense time-wise because there's really no room to mess around with the time. So that was kind of the big challenge, was making sure the puzzle pieces of these 3 different characters who were in 3 different places all fit together by the end.
Did you find that writing, setting the story in one night helped you create more suspense or helped you show the characters in a different light than in previous books where you had sort of a longer timeline that you were working on? I
do think, writers are always looking for ways to amp up that suspense, especially if you're writing a suspense novel. And so that compressed time period with the literal ticking clock, every new point of view character in the book, the time is shown so you know how much time is passing, and you have the very real danger of a missing child, a child who is out there in the darkness. This is all happening at night, and so at night different things get revealed and you see different things than you would see during the day. So that one night compressed time period with a missing child who is believed to be in danger, I believe that really does amp up the suspense in the book.
As you're talking about it, it strikes me, I've been very interested in experiments with enhanced ebooks of one kind or another, Kindle in Motion, and I can imagine a very simple animation for an ebook of this that would simply have a digital clock advancing with each page, so that as the reader was moving through the night, say, "Oh my gosh, it's 2:30 a.m. and it's about to be 3," and that would. Do you think that would add or detract from the story if you were able to do that in an enhanced ebook?
Oh, I think that would be very cool. I mean, it's beyond my technical capabilities. There'd have to be somebody very smart who could do that. But yeah, I would love the idea of something like that. I think about, an old TV show like Mission Impossible or something like that, where they would, kind of have that ticking clock, or even like, a James Bond movie where it's like, there's a bomb and it's going to go off at this time, and can you stop the bomb from going off before you get there? I mean, it's something that's always been part of suspense stories and thrillers, and I think it really does keep the reader aware of how much is at stake as each second ticks by.
Yeah. I saw somewhere that usually you write a very careful outline in preparing your books, and then you write from that, but you still experience surprises in the writing. Was there a particular and memorable surprise as you wrote this story based on your outline, and what was pleasing about it?
Well, one of the things that I enjoy the most about writing is when I am surprised by the book, when I think I've got it all figured out in that outline, and then as I'm going along, something will occur that I hadn't anticipated. And I figure that if I'm surprised, if I feel that that excitement of a new discovery, then chances are pretty good the reader will have that excitement, that thrill and surprise when it comes along. The ending of this book is somewhat different than what I originally imagined, and that happens a lot, that I'll think one thing's going to happen at the end, and as I go along, I'll realize it makes more sense to have something else happen. So endings change a lot from the outline. Something else that's different that was not in the outline is there are 3 point of view characters. There's Michael, there's his wife Angela, and there's the police detective Aaron Griffin. And in the outline, I did not know that Detective Griffin was going to be a point of view character. She just kind of emerged as a point of view character once I started writing the story, and I really enjoyed having her as a point of view character because she's the only character who's not directly tied up with this family, so she's a little bit of an outside observer on everything that's happening. Plus, she's a police officer, so she's supposed to be a little detached, a little more factual. But at the same time, even she has some personal issues in her past that relate to the things that Michael and Angela are going through that come up and get in the way of her doing her job. So she was a nice surprise in the story that she started narrating part of it.
Do you have any sense, based on your spiritual understanding of the world or of the craft of writing, where surprises like that come from?
Oh, I have no idea. That, to me, that's like asking me to explain, the Big Bang or something like that. I don't know where. I mean, there's a logical part of writing a story where I can say, okay, I understand what triggered this idea in my mind. I was thinking about marriage, and I was thinking about divorce and relationships and all that. And that's the logical side of it. But yeah, there's that mystery part of writing, and I imagine it's the same thing that happens for anybody who's creating something or inventing something or whatever, where something just appears in your brain, and we don't know where it came from. We don't know what caused that to pop in, and we probably won't ever really know, except it's just a matter of somebody being open to it and allowing it to happen, and not like I'm talking about the outline. I can't be so rigid that I'm not open to a new idea coming into the story. So it's being open to those things that pop into your head that can help create that kind of magic.
You also direct an MFA program at Western Kentucky University. Did it just start last year? It seemed fairly new.
We're coming up on the 4th year.
I see.
Yeah.
In that program, do you try to help writers be open to those kinds of surprises, or is the work of an MFA program more on the craft side of it, and each individual is going to have to consult their muse or their psyche kind of on their own time?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, I think that part of being a creative writing student is learning the discipline. You're in school, you have to meet deadlines, you have to conduct yourself like a professional, which is what you have to do if you're a professional writer. So there's that side of it. But at the same time, if you're a professor, you have to try to create an atmosphere in which students can take risks, students can push themselves to try different things, where students feel comfortable following their ideas to their logical conclusion. So having a creative discipline within a university is kind of a weird mixture because, being in school requires deadlines and grades and calculating scores and things like that, and being creative includes those things we were talking about, the mystery and the inspiration and the creativity and all that. So it's a weird mixture, and I think just as a professor you have to walk the line of making sure both sides of the writer's brain get engaged, and both sides have a chance to learn things.
Do students going through your program have a exposure to the opportunities for self-publishing through things like Kindle Direct Publishing, as well as the traditional route of finding an agent and a publisher, and kind of the way authors have always assumed was the only door open to them?
There are always students, usually they're undergraduate students, who ask about that. They're curious about self-publishing because inevitably they know somebody who has self-published something. And I've had students who have self-published stuff, books, or short stories or whatever. And I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have. I try not to put my thumb too heavily on the scale. I have my bias, which is I think I'm traditionally published. That's what I've always wanted, and that's what I would hope to continue to do. But I think that where the self-publishing thing comes in is it's another option for writers. If all someone wants is to be able to have a work in print and available so that their friends or their family members or whoever can go to Amazon or go somewhere and purchase it and download it, then, yeah, self-publishing is an option for those people. I try to let my students know, if your goal is to have your book in a bookstore or to be reviewed somewhere big and to do those kinds of things, you still have to go the traditional publishing route to do that. So it's just, self-publishing to me is an option. It's an option that might be tailor-made for some people. And I think students need to be aware of that. They need to be aware of the opportunities and the downfalls of traditional publishing and self-publishing and whatever. I still believe in traditional publishing, but that's my own bias when I talk to them, and I try to let them understand that.
As an author, do you get any information from Berkeley Publishing Group that gives you a feeling of what % of your audience is reading your books in print, ebook, and audiobook? Yeah,
you'll see sales figures broken down by the different formats, so ebook, paperbook, audiobook, whatever. We see that information.
Well, can you say what it breaks down usually for your books?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think it's usually maybe a quarter of people are reading things on ebook, and maybe it's 3/4 are reading them on traditional print books. The thing is, I've sold very well at Target, and obviously, if you go into a place like Target, that's all print books.
Right.
That's Target's not selling ebooks in their store, and I've sold a lot of books there. So maybe that skews things for me, is that I've been in places like that. But yeah, readers always ask me inevitably, well, does it matter? Do you care how I read your book? And I say, I don't care at all. Pick the format. That's up to you. If you want to listen to it as an audiobook or you want to read an ebook, it doesn't matter to me. I like it if they buy the book instead of, pirating the ebook somewhere or whatever. But I'm going to get paid if they buy it in whichever format. So it doesn't matter to me. That's up to the reader to decide.
I was reading it. The ARC that Kristen sent me was... it had some flaws in the formatting, so I asked her for a print copy of the book as well. So I was switching back and forth between the ebook and the print book, and I was aware of the suspense, the intense suspense in the book, and I was wondering if I'm reading on my Kindle, especially at night, is this book somehow more suspenseful, more scary than when I'm reading it in the hardcover? And I have a bit of a bias for ebooks, but I think I could make a case in my own experience of it that you have this one little screen of the text, and it moves through, one glance by one glance, and it's like having a small window in a dark cave or something, whereas the paper book, it spreads out, and there's two facing pages, and you have the sense that you could flip ahead if you want to. But have you ever thought about which format heightens the element of suspense for the reader? Yeah,
that's interesting. I don't read a lot of ebooks because I spend so much time staring at a computer screen that when I want to read for fun, I read an actual book just because I don't want to be looking at a screen anymore. But you conjure an interesting picture, which is that glowing light in the darkness, where because you can read a Kindle without having a lamp on, right?
Yeah,
or even a very faint bedside lamp you can read without that. So you're conjuring that picture of a reader with just that little glow surrounded by darkness. So that certainly sounds creepy. But the same thing could happen with a print book. I just stayed in a hotel with my wife, and she fell asleep before me the one night, so I was reading, and they had those little tiny bedside, like pen lights almost that you could just direct at the book. And that was the same kind of experience. I'm sitting there with just this little glowing light reading a book, and it's kind of like being a kid reading, with the flashlight under your covers or whatever. So I don't know. Fascinating question. I've never really thought if the format affects the amount of suspense you feel.
Now, today is publication day for your book. Do you have any expected sets of emotions or rituals that you go through on the day that your book is released to the world?
Well, there's sheer unmitigated terror is the emotion that you feel. No, it's a weird experience because it is very exciting. It is a very happy time. I feel like the book is never really complete until it is in readers' hands. I don't write the book with the hope that no one will read it. I write the book with the hope that people will read it and respond to it and post reviews and send me messages and whatever, and talk about it to their friends. So in a way, this is like the completion of the book happens today. Even though I stopped writing it months and months ago, this is the completion of the book when readers actually get to read it. So in that sense, it's amazing, it's joyous, it's pride, it's everything. And then along with it, there's that nervousness. How are people going to respond? Are people going to respond positively? Are people going to like it? Are people going to want to read it? Are enough people going to read it and all that? So it's a little terrifying too, and it's a little feeling of there's a little element of helplessness because there's nothing else I can really do to change the way people are going to react to the book. The book is finished. I mean, I can't go in now and change something if readers decide they don't like it. I mean, the book is the finished product. So that's that kind of feeling of helplessness of, okay, it's out there, but it's now out of my hands, and I have no control over how people will react. So it's a wild jumble of emotions, and there will be ups and downs. But overall, it's a very exciting day, and I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it's finally here.
Well, congratulations! I read it. I can't remember the last book I read that had so much suspense in it. So you accomplished that part of your mission, and I'm sure you'll be interested to find out how the audience reacts in the coming weeks and months and years. I have been speaking with David Bell, the author of Somebody's Daughter, published today by Berkeley Publishing Group, an imprint of Penguin Random House. Thanks very much, David.
Thank you, Len. I really appreciate having me on.
That's it for this week. Next week's guest will be A.G. Riddle, a best-selling author who got his start via Kindle Direct Publishing. His trilogy titled The Origin Mystery has sold over 2 million copies in the U.S., been translated into 23 languages, and is in development to become a motion picture. The week after next will mark 10 years since I uploaded the first episode of the Kindle Chronicles from this very desk in our cottage here in Maine. I don't have a guest scheduled for that show, but am instead planning on a look back at what we've talked about for the past decade, with perhaps some excerpts from past interviews. If you'd like to contribute to the show, I invite you to leave a voice message for me at my Google Voice number. That's 617-807-0205. I thought it might be fun to have callers to the line answer 3 questions, keeping your answers to 1 to 2 minutes. First, how has the Kindle changed how you read in the past 10 years? Second, what book that you've read in the past 10 years has had the most impact on you or that was most memorable? And third, what changes in digital reading would you like to see in the next 10 years? I hope you have fun on Prime Day and that you'll consider starting your Prime Day deal hunting by clicking on the Amazon ad at the top of my show notes page at thekindlechronicles.com. That will generate Amazon Associates commissions to support the show without adding anything extra to what you pay for your stuff. This is Len Edgerly from Ocean Park, Maine. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye.